Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, text number 14. Shrihi Yatra Rupini Urugaya Padayoho Shriryatra Rupinyurugaya Padayo Karoti Manam Bahudha Vibhuti Karoti Manam Bahudha Vibhuti Prinkam Shritha Ya Kusuma Akara Anugaihi Prinkam Shritaya Kusuma Karanugair Vigiyamana Priya Karma Gayati Vigiyamana Priya Karma Gayati Dadarsha Tatra Akhila Satvatam Patim Dadarsha Tatra Akhila Satvatam Patim Shriyaha Patim Yagna Patim Jagat Patim Shriyah Patim Yagna Patim Jagat Patim Sunanda Nanda Prabhala Arhana Adibihi Sunanda Nanda Prabhalarhanadhibihi Swa Parshadagraihi Parisevitam Vibhum Swaparshadagrai Parisevitam Vibhum. Jai Shri Nitai Gauranga Ki Jai. Shrihi, the goddess of fortune. Yatra, in the Vaikuntha planets. Rupini, in her transcendental form. Urugaya, the Lord who is sung of by the great devotees. Padayoho, under the lotus feet of the Lord. Karoti, does. Manam, respectful services. Bahudha, in diverse paraphernalia. Vibhuti bihi, accompanied by her personal associates. Prinkam, movement of enjoyment. Shrita, taken shelter of. Ya, who. Kusumakara, spring. Anugaihi, by the black bees. Vigiyamana, being followed by the songs. Priya Karma, activities of the dearmost. Gayati, singing. Translation: the goddess of fortune, in her transcendental form, is engaged in the loving service of the Lord's lotus feet, and being moved by the black bees, followers of spring, she is not only engaged in variegated pleasure, service to the Lord, along with her constant companions, but is also engaged in singing the glories of the Lord's activities. Dadarsha, Brahma saw, Tatra, there in Vaikuntha Loka, Akhila, entire, Sattvatam, of the great devotees, Patim, the Lord, Shriyaha, of the goddess of fortune, Patim, the Lord, Yagna, of sacrifice, Patim, the Lord, Jagat, of the universe, Patim, the Lord, Sunanda, Sunanda, Nanda, Nanda, Prabala, Prabala, Arhana, Arhana, Adibihi, by them, Swaparshadha, own associates, Agraihi, by the foremost, Parisevitam, being served in transcendental love, Vibhum, the great Almighty. Translation: Lord Brahma saw in the Vaikuntha planets the personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of the entire devotee community, the Lord of the goddess of fortune, the Lord of all sacrifices, and the Lord of the universe, and who is served by the foremost servitors like Nanda, Sunanda, Prabhala, and Arhana, his immediate associates. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When we speak of a king, it's naturally understood the king is accompanied by his confidential associates, like his secretary, private secretary, or de camp, ministers, and advisors. So also when we see the Lord, we see him with his different energies, associates, confidential servitors, etc. So the Supreme Lord, who is the leader of all living entities, the Lord of all devotee sects, the Lord of all opulences, the Lord of sacrifices, and the enjoyer of everything in his entire creation, is not only the Supreme Person, but also is always surrounded by his immediate associates, all engaged in their loving transcendental service to him. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitan Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This is a revelation that Lord Brahma saw after he did the intense meditation as per the direction of the Lord, and he had the vision of Vaikuntha Loka and what is happening in Vaikuntha Loka we see in these two verses. The first verse describes Lakshmi and the second verse describes Narayana. Shriryatra rupini urugaya padayo. Urugaya. Uru means extraordinary. Yad yad vibhutimat sattvam Srimad urjitam eva va. Urjitam, uruga, uru, connected with the same word uru. Something extraordinary. Urugaya, gayati, to sing. Urugaya, Lord who is sung by great devotees or whose activities are great and his activities are sung, Urugaya. Here Prabhupada has translated Urugaya, the Lord who is sung of by the great devotees. Uru meaning great devotees, extraordinary personalities. And they glorify, they sing Urugaya. So it's referring to Lord Narayana. Urugaya padayo, Narayana's lotus feet. Shriryatra rupinya urugaya padayo karoti manam. Shriryatra rupinya urugaya padayo. Shri is referring to Lakshmi, and Yatra Rupini, she has a transcendental form, very beautiful form, and Urugaya Padayo Manam Karoti, and she is rendering Manam. Mana refers to honor, honorably dealing, and so respectful service. Prabhupada translates Manam, respectful services. So, Urugaya Padayo Manam Karoti Bahuda Vibhuti Vihi, accompanied by her transcendental associates, opulent associates. Prenkam Shrita, she is moved by. Prenkam is movement, Shrita, taken shelter of, in the sense of Prenkam Shrita, Yaha, who Kusuma Akara Anugaihi. Akara means source. Kusuma Akara. Kusuma means flowers. The source of flowers, which is actually spring. Now it is called Kusuma Akara. Rutunam Kusuma Akara. Krishna also says in the 10th chapter of the Gita, among the seasons, I'm the flower-bearing spring. Right? Kusumakara Anugaihi. those who are followers of the spring. Who follows the spring? The bees. The bees are very excited in spring because they have a lot of flowers to collect the nectar from. So they're excited. So, Kusumakara Anugaihi refers to the black bees. Vigiyamana. Vigiyamana. Giyamana. Visheshataha Giyamana. Being followed by the songs. Priyakarma Gayati. Priyakarma, activities of the dearmost. Lakshmi Devi's dearmost is Narayana, and Gayati, singing. So Brahma saw her doing this, and this verse says, Manam karoti priyakarma gayati. She is rendering service and describing and singing the glories of the Lord. These are the two things that Lakshmi is doing. Manam karoti, urugaya padayo manam karoti, and priyakarma gayati. So you can see now the translation. The goddess of fortune, Shri, in her transcendental form, Rupini, Yatra Rupini, is engaged in the loving service of the Lord's lotus feet. Urugaya padayo manam karoti. And being moved by the black bees. Kusumakarānugaihi prinkam shrita. And being moved by the black bees, followers of spring, Kusumakara Anugaihi, she is not only engaged in variegated vibhuti bihi, bahuda vibhuti bihi, pleasure service, manam, to the Lord, along with her constant companions, bahuda vibhuti bihi, but is also engaged in singing the glories of the Lord's activities. Vigiyamana, priyakarma gayati. This is the first verse. Now let's go to the next verse. Dadarsha, Lord Brahma saw. In Vaikuntha planets. Akhila Sattvatam Patim Dadarsha. Sattvatam means devotees. Akhila Sattvatam Patim Dadarsha. Brahma saw the devotees. Sattvatam Pati, the Lord of the devotees. Shriyapatim, the Lord of Lakshmi. Yagnapatim, the Lord of sacrifices. Jagatpatim, the Lord of the universe. And what did he see him? What was the Lord doing? He was alone? No. Sunanda, Nanda, Prabhala, Arhana, Adibihi, Swaparshadagraihi, Parisevitam Vibhum. Swaparshada. Parshada means associates. Remember another verse where this word comes? Parshada. Sangopangastra Parshadam. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagnai Sankirtana Prayair Yajantihi Sumedasaha. Describing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Bhagavatam. There it says, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam. Parshadai. Sanga Upanga Astra Parshadai. The Lord always, when the Lord comes, he brings his astra. When Lord came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what is the astra he brought? The astra he brought are his parshadas, his associates. That's why we see in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the trees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This branch, that branch, this branch, so much description is there. They're all his associates. They are his astra. Through them, he is shooting arrows into the hearts of Kali Yuga people and making them devotees. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu worked through his associates, Parshad. So the Lord is always surrounded by his Parshada. Parshada means very, very great, close associates of the Lord. They know the Lord very closely. They serve the Lord very closely. They are called Parshad. And here, Parshada Agraihi. Agraihi means, Agra means foremost. So, Parshada Agraihi, and there's a list of names here: Sunanda, Nanda, Prabhala, Arhana, Adibihi, etc. Many. So Parshada Agraihi. And what are these Parshadas are doing? Parshada Agraihi, what are they doing? Parisevitam. They are rendering all kinds of services. Parisevitam, being served in transcendental love, Vibhum, that great almighty Lord. Lord Brahma saw Dadarsha in the Vaikuntha planets, the personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of the entire devotee community, Tatrakhila Sattvatam Patim, the Lord of the goddess of fortune, Shriyapatim, Shriyapatim Dadarsha, Sattvatam Patim Dadarsha, Yagnapatim Dadarsha, the Lord of all sacrifices, and Jagatpatim Dadarsha, and saw the Lord of the universes, who is served by the foremost, who is served, Parisevitum, by the foremost servants, Swaparshada Agraihi, like Nanda, Sunanda, Prabhala, and Arhana, his immediate associates, Swaparshadha. In other words, we get from the Srimad Bhagvatam, we get a picture of the spiritual world which is vibrant with variegatedness and activities. It's a colorful world. It's not some bright light, dazzling bright light, uniform bright light, and you have to keep gazing at the bright light forever. It would be very boring, isn't it? So, Bhagavatam assures, no, the ultimate perfection is not just to go to the bright light, but to go to the transcendental world which has all these wonderful activities going on. There are wonderful personalities like the goddess of fortune, and she is accompanied by her company of associates, and all her associates are vibhuti bihi. They are full of opulences, and she is serving the lotus feet of the Lord, and she is singing. So singing, serving, these are all the prominent features of the spiritual world. And whom are they serving? They're serving the Lord of all the devotees, the Lord of goddess of fortune, the goddess of the Lord of Yagnapati, the Lord of sacrifices, the Lord of the universe. And he is accompanied, he's not alone, he's accompanied by Swaparshadagraihi. And these Parshadas are also Parisevitam. So, Vaikuntha atmosphere means everyone is absorbed in serving the Lord, glorifying the Lord. No one is thinking, my enjoyment and my own service, my glorification. In the material world, it is just the opposite. Everyone wants to be served, and every one of us, we want to be glorified. If any function we have, and if someone is not properly glorified, he will become very upset. If somebody is not properly served, he will become very upset. Why you are supposed to serve me properly? Why you are not serving me properly? So that's the nature of the material world, where all living entities who are desiring, demanding, expecting service to oneself and glorification of oneself. Although we don't deserve any glorification, but we want. This is the contrasting feature of the residents of the spiritual world and the residents of the material world, of which we are all residents. You can see, analyze in this world, people are doing different things so that they get glorified, so that they get served by others. Because if I become a very powerful man, so many people will be serving me. So many people are waiting for me. So many people are ready to offer different services to me. And man feels very good. When I was young in Krishna consciousness, I joined very early, young age. I was 21 when I joined the temple. I had no experience of the world outside. I came from simple middle-class family. So in iskcon, you start going to meet rich people. So we were going and meeting one rich man. He was a very rich man in Bangalore. Wine merchant, wine distillery business. Those days, rich people in Bangalore means this kind of business. Now you have IT companies and all. Those days, I'm talking about 85. So, 1985. So it was very difficult to meet him. And we were going to him because we had translated Prabhupada's Gita and we didn't have money to publish it. The printer had told we need 65,000 rupees. So 65,000. Wow. How to get that much money? This was our situation. So we would go to meet him. First of all, to meet him is very difficult. Big gates are there outside. Somehow we got opportunity. Somebody would call. One Gujarati gentleman was there. He was friends with this man and his office, and so they made an arrangement. So when we went there, gates opened, and we went inside, drove the car inside. And then we would wait. And early in the morning, we would go by 7 o'clock. After Mangalarti, chanting, Madhu Pandit Prabhu and I would go. We went many times. It was not easy. Every time we couldn't. First time we couldn't meet him. And then you had to wait for 1 hour, 45, and you also get bored. You're just walking around looking, what's this? Outside, come outside the waiting room and all that. So one day I had one of those visits, I had come out, and then suddenly the news came that the big man is coming. And the security guards, everyone lined up, and all others went back to their positions. And then his big car came, and there was somebody to open the car. He gets down, Then he walks. Everything is, it's just like when a magnet and iron filings get aligned. Like that, everything is aligned around him. And when I saw all that, it was, my God, this guy, what is he? He's some demigod or what? The way people are responding to him. You see? Now, of course, we meet so many people like that. So, like this, in the material world, they want to become rich, they want to become powerful, so that they get this kind of an aura around them. And he wouldn't meet us. By the way, I'll just complete that story. 2-3 times, he wouldn't meet us. And so it was very difficult. Then, every time we would meet, he would be busy. This is too busy. Too many people are there to wait. Swamiji, today we can't. You won't meet him. Come next time. So we would come back. And after about 2-3 months, we read in the newspaper, his son committed suicide. Such a rich man. His son would have got all those riches. And we read that. So we waited for 10-12 days. After 12th, 13th day, again we went. And on that day, he met us. He was not in his suit. He was wearing one white chadar-like thing. I think something had become shaken, no? Any father will get shaken when the son dies. And so he met us. He was nice. And he said, all right, Swamiji, I'll give the money. And he gave entire 65,000 rupees to print. So, like this, in the material world, this is the disease of the conditioned soul. I want to be served. I want to be glorified. The true position is, the Lord is the Lord and He has to be served and He has to be glorified because all wonderful qualities come from Him. He is the reservoir of all wonderful qualities. Everything comes from Him. That is why we should appreciate this part in the 10th chapter and 11th chapter. Oh, we don't have much time. At least I'll just mention a little bit. In the 10th chapter, Arjuna asks a question. Because in the 9th chapter, Krishna said, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagadavyakta murtina. This entire universe is pervaded by me. And 9th chapter, how did Krishna end? Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhya jimam namaskuru mameva eshyasi yuktvaivam atmanam matparayanaha. Krishna ended the chapter by saying, you should always think of me. In the 9th chapter, Krishna has spoken the most confidential knowledge. What was the most confidential knowledge that Krishna spoke? He spoke about his position. Knowing Krishna's position is considered confidential knowledge because in the material world, nobody likes to know God's position. Everyone is interested in my position. Everyone should know my position. This is the nature of the material world. We all want to be in the center of things. We all want to be glorified. We think everything is mine, my control. So, Krishna is saying, what is his true position? And then Krishna also says in the 9th chapter, Naham prakasha sarvasya. Everyone cannot see me. Yogamaya samavrataha. You cannot see me because I am covered by my mystic curtain. And so, Arjuna had asked the question in the 10th chapter, an important question, after he understood that Param Brahma Parandhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. Now I understand, Krishna, you are the Parabrahma. After saying that, Arjuna says, Vaktum arhasya sheshena, 10:16. Vaktum arhasya sheshena divyahya atma vibhutayaha yabhir vibhutibhir lokan imam stvam vyapya tishtasi. Vyapya tishtasi. Vyapya, how do you pervade? Tishtasi, and how are you situated? Imam lokam, in this world, how are you situated? How have you spread your vibhu atma vibhutayaha, divya atma vibhutayaha, your transcendental, your personal opulence, and how you have spread in this material world, and how you are situated in this material world. Can you please explain that in completely? You see, Vaktum, can you please describe? Arhasi asheshena, completely Vaktum, completely you explain. Divyahya atma vibhutayaha yabhir vibhutibhir lokan. Please tell me in detail of your divine powers by which you pervade all these worlds and abide in them. And reside, abide is to reside in them. How do you pervade? Through your divine potencies. And how are you situated in this world? Can you please explain in detail? Vaktum arhasi asheshena. And in the next verse, why Arjuna wants to know that one? In the next verse, Katham vidyamaham yogims tvam sada parichintayan. How do I swa sada parichintayan? Because you told Manmana, always think of me. And you said, common people cannot see me because yogamaya samavritaha. So Arjuna is asking a question for us. Because we are common people. We cannot see Krishna. He's covered by the mystic potency. Only those who have the eyes anointed with love can see him. So for us, he is asking, Katham vidyamaham yogims tvam sada parichintayan. Katham tvam sada parichintayan. How can I remember you always? Keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintyosi bhagavanmaya. Keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintyosi. How do I think of you? In what form do I think of you? These are the questions Arjuna is asking. Next, last one. Vistarena atmano yogam vibhutim cha janardhana bhuyaha kataya truptirhi shrunvato nasti me mritam. Please describe your glories. I am never tired of hearing them because it's amritam for my ears. It's nectar for my ears. Tell me again in detail, O Janardhana, Krishna, of your mighty potencies and glories, for I never tire of hearing your ambrosial words. Now, in response to this, Krishna answers the rest of the 10th chapter. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Hantate kathayishyami divyahya atma vibhutayaha pradhanyataha kurushreshta nasti anto vistarasya me. Nasti anta vistarasya me. There is no end to my glories. Pradhanyataha. I will explain a few important ones. I'll give you a few examples of Divya Atma Vibhutayaha. This is what Arjuna had asked. Divya Atma Vibhutayaha. Vyapsya Tishtasi. How do you pervade? Can you please explain? So Krishna is saying, I will explain only the pradhanyataha, only a few prominent ones, because there is no end to my glories. Next, then he begins to say, Aham Atma Gudakesha Sarvabhutashayastitaha. This Mayavadis will mistake. Aham Atma Gudakesha Sarvabhutashayastitaha. Aham Adischa Madhyamcha Bhutanam Antayevacha. So, Aham Atma Gudakesha Sarvabhutashaya Stitaha. Aham Atma. I am the soul in every living entity. Oh, Krishna and I, we are the Krishna then. No. That's not the meaning. In this body, the prominent feature is the Atma. If the Atma goes, the body will be finished. So that prominent feature in this body is the soul. And that soul is my amsha, my manifestation. Not that we are not Krishna. That vital force is Krishna's vital force. That is why we will see a few more and then we will understand. In the next, Adityanam aham Vishnur Jyotisham Raviram Shuman. Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Again, we may not understand that one. Oh, who are the Adityas? I am the Vishnu. Okay, the next one we can easily understand. Jyotisham Raviram Shuman. There are so many lights. You have here so many lights are there. Krishna says, among all the lights, I am the sun. I am the radiant sun. Amshuman Ravihi. Jyotisham Raviram Shuman. Nakshatranam Aham Shashi. In the night there are so many stars twinkling. But one bright object is the moon. Now you see, among Jyotisham Raviram Shuman. Nakshatranam Shashi. In the next one, Krishna says, Sarasam Asmi Sagaraha. Among reservoirs, so many reservoirs of water, collection of water is there. We have in the washroom, we have a bucket of water also. We have a well of water. We have a reservoir of water. We have a lake full of water. We have a river full of water. But among all the reservoirs of water, I am the Sagara. I am the ocean. So, among all the manifestations in the material world, Krishna is saying, the foremost of them, that's my manifestation. Now you see, Atma Gudakesha, Sarvabhutashayastitaha, Aham Atma Gudakesha. When Krishna is saying, it's not that we are all Krishna, that vital force in this body is a manifestation of Krishna. Now, in the 10th chapter, he describes all these things. And then in the conclusion, what does he say? Yad yad vibhutimat sattvam Srimad urjitameva va tat tat eva avagachatvam mama tejomsha sambhavam. Anything splendorous, anything beautiful, anything wonderful, anything magnificent you see in the material world, you should know it has come about simply by a spark of my splendor. This is how the 10th chapter ends. In the 11th chapter, Krishna asks, Oh Krishna, you are saying that all these magnificent, opulent, grand, beautiful manifestations in the world are yours? And it's your amsha? Can I see that form of yours where all these opulent manifestations are in you? And then Krishna says, you cannot see that, Arjuna, but however, I'll give you divine eyes by which you can see. Behold my universal form. And then he shows his universal form in the 11th chapter. And what was it like when Arjuna saw the divine universal form? It was like as if 1,000 suns had risen in the sky simultaneously. Just one sun rises, it's so dazzling. Imagine 1,000 suns. Tomorrow morning, 1,000 suns are going to rise. Please, everyone, watch out. Everyone will be waiting. And it will be dazzling. No one can see anything. See, it was like that. So when all of Krishna's potencies were manifest in one form, and he's showing his universal form. So like this, Lord's position is that of, he's the Jagatpati. He's the Shriyapati. And so he deserves to be worshipped. He deserves to be glorified. And whatever we have, good quality, is a reflection from him. It has come from him. So this understanding, the inhabitants of the material world don't have, and this understanding is what the inhabitants of the spiritual world have. And hence, if we have to get there, we have to change our consciousness and our thinking and recognize Krishna and his wonderful position. And we should learn to glorify him, and we should learn to serve him. And that's what Srila Prabhupada's Krishna consciousness movement is teaching all of us. We will stop here. Anyone has any question? Yes. How we can do? Number one, we are chanting Hare Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada said, Hare Krishna means praying to Krishna, praying to Rama, Balaram, praying to Radharani. Please engage me in your service. So our chanting must be imbued with the prayer to serve the Lord. And we have so many songs, we have reading of the scriptures, which are all glorifying the Lord and his position. We should be interested in reading and understanding these things. And we have festivals, and we should actively participate in festivals, because festival is to glorify the Lord. And we are involved in different projects, because all these projects are meant to glorify the Lord. And so you can see, we prepare varieties of food and offer to the Lord so that the Lord can enjoy. And then we will enjoy his prasadam. So you see how in all our activities we are trying to bring. Otherwise, there's a tamoguna in our consciousness, because of which we are lazy, uninterested, we want to sleep. So Prabhupada said we have to rise early and shed the tamoguna influence and come to the temple and glorify the Lord. So by doing all of these things, our consciousness changes. And why our consciousness changes? Because the true consciousness of the living entity is to be serving the Lord, to be glorifying the Lord. It's not an external imposition we are making into our consciousness. And so when we do these activities, purification happens, and our real love of Krishna is awakened. Krishna Bhakti Nitya, Krishna Prema Nitya Siddha Sadhya Kabunai, Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta Koraya Udai. That Krishna Prema, it is already there in the heart. But Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta, when we do Shravanadi, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Arsmaranam, Arhanam, Pada Sevanam, we do all these devotional activities, Koraya Udai. The word Udaya is used. Udaya is used for sun, Suryodaya. Right? Not that sun was created. Sun was already there. It was not visible, but at the right time, Surya Udaya happened. And now we could see. In the same way, in our present consciousness, in our present kind of activities, we cannot see that bhakti in our heart. But when we are cleansed, that Krishna Prema Udaya. It was already there, but it was covered. And the covering was removed. And Krishna Prema Udaya happens in our heart. Krishna Prema Nitya Siddha Sadhya Kabunai. It is the eternal perfection of the living entity. Nitya Siddha Sadhya Kabunai. It is not to be achieved. It is not to be created. Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta. When we do Shravanadi, our Chitta becomes Shuddha and Koraya Udai. And that Krishna Prema Udaya happens. Like that. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagvatam ki, Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Shri Nitai Gauranga ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.